there's an awful lot to see when you come to San Francisco. Of course, the Golden Gate Bridge is a place which you want to stop, but then you want to take a cable car ride through the hills and the city of San Fran. And Willie Mays Plaza is the place to meet here at AT&T Park. We get set for Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Phils and the Giants. There was also a lot to see last night here at AT&T Park if you're a Giants fan. Giants had 22 hits, the most in AT&T Park history, the most allowed by the Phillies in a 9-inning game since 2007. The Giants 15 runs, 8 off Hamels in the 4th inning, the most runs in an inning versus a single pitcher since 2010. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, along with Ben Davis. Well, everybody's sort of putting last night's game aside. If you're in the Phillies dugout, if you're in the Giants dugout, you were down talking to Bruce Bochy. They were still talking about it today, and the production for an offense that really had been struggling. Now, Hunter Pence is a story all by himself. He certainly has helped the Giants to 2 World Championships, and they hope that it'll lead them to the postseason again.
He's been very good for them. He stabilizes that lineup. He does give them some added depth, some power, but what he really does is add security behind Buster Posey. Buster Posey is going to get a lot more pitches to hit with Hunter Pence hitting behind him. He's done it a lot for the Giants, and we can take a look at the numbers. Without Hunter Pence, not so good, but with Hunter Pence in the lineup, they do some damage.
Cole Hamels said after he threw this pitch, he knew it wasn't a good pitch. He was hoping that Hunter Pence would just foul it off. Now, this pitch to Joe Panik, well, this was a blast. This kind of put the topping on the scoring. They did score 2 more runs later on, but for him, he's one of 3 guys that had 4 hits in last night's game.
He really impressed me. He's very short to the ball. He gets his foot down early. He's very quick with his hands, and the ball comes off his bat differently. For a guy that's really not a monster physically, he takes a good swing and he hits the ball hard and hits where it's pitched.
7th right now in the National League and hitting at .313. Pretty much the same lineup except for 1 position player for the Giants tonight in Game 2 of this 3-game series. David Buchanan makes his return to the big leagues, his 6th start of the season, and Ryan Vogelsong, who the Phillies hit around earlier this year, makes the start for the Giants. Well, for Joe Panik, this wasn't an ordinary home run. Yeah, it bounced into the seats, bounced onto the walkway, but then, whoa, look out. That guy decided to go fishing for a baseball. It was so important to him. And then what ensued was a casual rescue until he got himself out of the water. We'll be back with the lineups and first pitch after this. Deposit checking. Keeping things simple is helping you bank better. Buy Xfinity, the official entertainment provider of the Philadelphia Phillies. Buy Toyota. Where will Toyota take you? Visit buyattoyota.com to find out. Toyota, let's go places. Buy Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of the Phillies. And buy Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Learn more at ibx.com. Well, back here in San Francisco, we get set for Game 2 between the Phils and the Giants. Phillies hoping it's a little different outcome than last night's ball game. Let's take a look at their lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity, the official entertainment provider of the Philadelphia Phillies. A little different lineup. Herrera starts at center field leading it off, then Blanco at second base. Maikel Franco's at third, and Ryan Howard's at first. Carlos Ruiz will bat fifth, Cody Ashley sixth. And the bottom third of Brown, Galvis, and David Buchanan. And they will face right-hander Ryan Vogelsong, who has already done with his warm-up tosses and is ready to go. Odubel Herrera digs in. Odubel 1 for 3 in last night's ball game with a strikeout. And the first pitch of the night is in there for a strike, so we're underway. Vogelsong's numbers: 15 starts, 17 games, 6 wins, an ERA of 4.10. He had a fantastic month of May and a so-so month of June. And July, well, July was cut short after 4 innings of work. At a play, it's 0-2.
So we take a look at the scouting report for the pride of Kutztown University, 89-92. Cutter, change, curve. He does get a little cutter happy from time to time. Not the best record against the Phils, but he is very, very good in this ballpark. So the Phillies will have something to hit, and we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, last time he faced the Phillies was on June 7th. He went 6 2/3, allowed 7 hits and 5 earned runs. No balls, 2 strikes to Herrera, and a strike 3 called on the outside corner. He was trying to help the umpire out again, but the umpire doesn't need any help. So 1 away here in the first, and Andres Blanco will be the batter. 66 strikeouts now for Vogelsong. He is not necessarily a strikeout pitcher.
No, definitely have 2 pitchers tonight that pitch to contact.
Blanco did not play in last night's ball game, making his 11th start of the season. As a starter, he's a .316 hitter. Overall, hitting .280 with 2 home runs and 9 runs batted in. I guess we all anticipated that Cesar was going to have either today or tomorrow off, just because of the way he's been struggling at the plate the last 3 games. Change up outside, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, he definitely had some tough customers to work with in Kershaw, Greinke, and Bumgarner, so you can't fault him that much. But he's been playing every day, and he's not used to it.
Just a bit low, 2 balls and 1 strike. Ryan Vogelsong lasted 4+ innings in his last outing, and then he got into a little bit of a battle with the home plate umpire Phil Cuzzy on the strike zone and was ejected in the 5th inning of that game. Bruce Bochy was also ejected. Now Bochy admitted after the game that he was probably going to get ejected. Bochy, in a matter of minutes, he just didn't anticipate that Vogelsong would go.
I talked to Ryan extensively about that yesterday. He said his main goal today was to stay in the game a little bit longer. So it just got to the point where he's just, I can't take it anymore. And, you know, can't fault the man for that.
First time he's been ejected in his major league career. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Let's face it, in this day and age, that's the only reason somebody's going to get ejected, is arguing balls and strikes. And very rarely will there be ejections anymore because they're arguing a play because of replay. Had a play down the left field line. It remains 3-2.
But I was watching that game when it happened, and Phil was not having a good night, and I think he took it out on Ryan. And you know, like I said, listen, I'm out here doing the best. I know you're trying to do your best, but you're not good tonight, so I had to let you know about it.
Check swing. Did he go? No, says the third base umpire. Ball 4. So Blanco's aboard. A 1-out walk here in the first. All right, Ben, take it away. Time for the Nissan keys to the game.
As I alluded to earlier, don't miss your pitch. Ryan Vogelsong will give you something to hit, so don't miss it. And that's pretty much every at bat for the most part. You're going to get something to hit, and buck up. You know, Dave Buchanan, his nickname is Buck. This is a great opportunity for him, especially coming off the game last night. It's a good opportunity for him to step up and do some work tonight.
Well, he is very excited about being back in the big leagues, as you can imagine. Maikel Franco's the hitter, and Franco lines one into center field, a base hit. Ball bobbled for a moment by Pagan. Bobbled a second time, and Blanco, excellent base running, continues on to third. And the Phillies have first and third thanks to a single and the first error of the season for Angel Pagan. Boy, how do you wash away the remnants of last night's 15-2 loss? Maybe get a run or two here in the first inning.
It is great heads-up base running here by Blanco. With Whitey, as his teammates like to call him. I think he was going on the first bobble.
Yeah, he may have been. You're right. Well, here's Ryan Howard, who did not play in last night's ball game. He is 2 for 17 on this road trip. Half his home runs against the Giants have come here at AT&T Park. Five hits and 10 at-bats against Vogelsong in his career, and the first pitch is inside. It's 1-0.
That ball was hit hard, wasn't it? Broncos.
It was.
Tell you.
Well, I think what was happening, I think Pagan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was thinking about coming up firing to second base, even though he wouldn't have gotten Blanco. But Blanco waited for a moment before he went to the bag. Foul ball, and it's 1-1.
Vogelsong very lucky that ball wasn't hit any lower, because I don't think he would have gotten the glove up. That's how hard that ball was struck. He kind of flinched as it was. It was definitely above his head enough.
Swing and a miss, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes to Ryan Howard. Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Christine Juarez of Hamilton, New Jersey. Phillies hit a home run in today's ball game, and Christine will win $100.
Good luck, Christine.
And Howard pulls that one into right field, a base hit. That'll get a run home, and the Phillies take a first inning lead. It's 1-0 here in the top half of the first.
Exactly the reason why having men on base in front of Ryan Howard pays dividends. They can't go into that extreme shift. How many balls have we seen him hit like that, Tom, this year? I mean, I bet you maybe 30, 35 balls we've seen Ryan hit. No one's on base. That would be an out. That would be a typical 4-3 with the second baseman playing in shallow right field. So that's why it's imperative that they get runners on base so that can happen.
That's a good point. 42 RBIs now for Ryan Howard, and still one man down with runners on first and second. And Ruiz, who had 3 hits in last night's game, is the batter. He takes a fastball, and it's 0-1. Well, here's the home run last night for Carlos Ruiz. This tied the game at 1.
The ball was smoked. Swung the bat very well as of late. Home run there. Would later hit a double to dead center and also a single.
Yeah, the Phillies had the game tied at 1 in the top of the 4th inning, and then ba-boom. An explosion. 11 men come to the plate for the Giants in their half of the 4th inning.
I did tell Chooch I wanted to triple tonight. He goes, okay, Poppy.
Ground ball to third. Duffy's got it. He'll go to second for 1. And they do turn the double play. Ryan Howard comes up limping from second base. And the side is retired. Phillies do get a run, though, on Howard's RBI single. Middle of the first. It's the Phillies 1 and the Giants coming up. the Giants lineup brought to you by Xfinity, the official entertainment provider of the Philadelphia Phillies. It'll be Pagan, Panik, and Duffy, followed by Posey, Pence, and Belt. Belt and Crawford have switched places in the lineup tonight. Gregor Blanco starts in left field. He'll bat 8th, and batting 9th at pitching is Ryan Vogelsong. And the return of David Buchanan. Buchanan 0-5 in the big leagues in 5 starts with an ERA of 8.76. This, Ben, after going 3-0 with a 1.29 earned run average in spring training. I don't think anybody saw that 0-5 coming after the way he pitched in spring training.
He did. He just started to elevate the baseball. Take a look at his scouting report. He'll sit right around 90 miles an hour at times, and I hope Chus doesn't do this tonight. He will get cutter crazy himself, much like Ryan Vogelsong. But his numbers at AAA 2-0 with a 2.96 ERA. He can build off that, just not try and change anything.
One outing against the Giants. He wound up losing the game, but didn't pitch that badly. He went 6 2/3 last year, allowed 9 hits. As Angel Pagan takes a strike, it's 0-1. Pagan hitting .261 on the year, no homers, and 21 runs batted in. Ground ball to first. Ryan Howard has it, 3 unassisted. Yeah, there's one away here in the bottom of the first. Well, this is Ryan Howard going into second base. We said he came up limping.
He doesn't even reach the bag and doesn't make any contact with Joe Panik at second base.
He's fine now, but he definitely was limping as he was coming up out of second base.
Maybe his cup kind of got jammed, up against his leg.
Yeah, hopefully it's not the knee or the Achilles or anything like that.
We talked last night. I mean, how much wood are they put on this infield? It's a lot. So maybe he just kind of got stuck in the mud. For lack of a better term, Tom.
Panik is out front of the changeup, but it's 0-2. Panik 4 for 6 last night, including a home run, his 7th of the year. His playing time has officially increased now for the All-Star game because of the injury to D. Gordon today. They've added a shortstop instead of a second baseman, so he's going to get a chance to play a little bit more. DJ LeMahieu will start for the injured D. Gordon.
I know it's 10-18 back on the East Coast, but if there are some kids or even high schoolers up watching this ball game right now, don't head first into first base. That's what D. Gordon did today. Dislocated his thumb. He's going to be out. You think you're going to get there faster. You're not. That's my 2 cents.
No, I agree with you. I think everybody should be told that when they're playing amateur baseball. And if they're lucky enough to move on to professional baseball, they'll carry it with them. 0-2 pitch is line just foul down the left field line. Joe Panik has not struck out in the month of July. 36 plate appearances. This is number 37. And he does not have a strikeout in the other 36. Here's Cole Hamels, who gave up a career high 9 earned runs last night. And Panik still does not have a strikeout. He's hit in 4 consecutive games. And a base runner for the Giants, and Matt Duffy's coming up. Tonight's game is also available in Spanish. Just use the SAP button on your television or change the language through the menu on your cable box.
See. Why does Greg Murphy like that so much?
I don't know. But he gives you a lot of affirmation down there.
He sure does.
Because I understand it. I feel like I'm bilingual at that point.
Rosetta Stone certainly carried over, Murph. Whatever happened to that, by the way?
I'm still working on it.
Okay. Matt Duffy, 1 ball, no strikes, making his 64th start of the season. Duffy was 4 for 6 last night. In fact, the Giants had 3 different players, including one that's not in the lineup tonight, have 4 hits in last night's ball game. First time that's happened for them since 1965. As Buchanan knocks that ball down, and everybody will be safe. It'll be an infield hit for Matt Duffy. Where did this kid come from?
Well, he was mired in a terrible slump before the Phils got in here.
Yeah, he was 3 for his last 24.
3 for his last 24.
I do believe Buchanan's okay. I think the ball got the glove. It may have gotten his wrist, but he says he's okay.
As long as it's on the left arm, I think it was. Maybe his left forearm. The ball struck. Freddie with very wise play. Freddie with a wise play not to make that throw. It would have been close, but I think Duffy definitely would have beaten it out. But why throw it over there?
Buster Posey did not play the entire game last night, but he did have 2 hits in that ball game. In fact, it seemed like everybody had a hit in that game except for Brandon Crawford, who was the only one in the Giants lineup that was hitless. He was 0 for 5. Another good year for Posey. Madison Bumgarner even had 2 hits in last night's game. He was not overly sharp on the mound, but still picked up the victory. 5 2/3. He didn't really need to be overly sharp last night. Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike to Posey. Posey with 16 RBIs in his last 13 ball games. He'll be making his second All-Star start this Tuesday. That one's out toward right field. Dominic Brown is there dancing around, and he makes the catch. No advancement by the runners. And there are 2 outs. Here's Hunter Pence. His 5th career grand slam last night.
You can see Chute setting up inside. Ball supposed to be inside. Ends up outer third. Pretty much middle. He goes down the right field line for a slam.
Cole Hamels said after the ball game last night, he said that the moment it left my hand, I knew it wasn't going to be a good pitch. My hope was that he would foul it off and miss it. He didn't miss it. Up high, 1 ball, no strikes.
Good hitters don't. When I was catching them, all the guys that were quote unquote good hitters, when they got a pitch, they did damage with it. And you say, well, these guys, why do they always get good pitches to hit? Because they didn't miss it. You know, they get that one pitch and they don't foul it off.
Well, you were talking to a guy today. Obviously, he was steroid induced, but you were talking to a guy today that didn't miss any good pitches. And he didn't get many good pitches, but when he got one, he didn't miss it, and that's Barry Bonds.
And sitting around the cage talking with him today, he just, if you gave him something, it was either in that bay or putting a hole in the wall out there.
1 ball, 1 strike to Pence with runners on first and second. Inside, 2-1. Down the right field line, slicing foul. His shoulder was out, his hips were open, and he still hit it about 300 feet. He's a strong man.
I think when he was done his stride, his left foot was on the third base bag.
Look at that. I mean, we saw him for a full year. I mean, he was remarkable.
It's just a lot of working parts, but it shows you hitting comes down to timing.
2-2 pitch. In the dirt, gets away from Ruiz. 2 runners in scoring position now on the wild pitch.
I think just a change up there that he spikes, and Chooch again late getting down to get over top and block that baseball.
Because he was still moving, it was difficult for the upper body to sort of smother it. Is that what it is?
I think you just have to just really anticipate that ball being in the dirt. Now you really have to be on your high alert.
Breaking ball and a call. Strike 3. Beautiful pitch from David Buchanan. I think he surprised Hunter Pence. Buchanan leaves 2 in scoring position. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 men left. A 3-2 breaking ball. And it froze the Giants right fielder. Wednesday, July 22nd, when the Phillies take on the Tampa Bay Rays. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Great opportunity to get out onto the playing field. Run around with the Fanatic. Cody Ashe will lead things off here in the top of the 2nd inning. And Ashe takes low. It's 1 ball, no strikes. Ashe .317 in his last 18 ball games. That one's out toward left center field, playable for Pagan. There's 1 out here in the 2nd. All right, so Murph, so the first 5 games of this road trip, the Phillies averaged 4.8 runs per game. The last 3 games, they've averaged 0.6 runs per game. They're done with those 3 guys, though.
Yeah, there was a reason for that. Currently 2-6 on this road trip, this 10-game road trip. And yeah, as you mentioned, we knew that going into that 3-game stretch, kind of the gauntlet of 3 of the best pitchers in the National League for sure. The Phils having to see them in a row. And it didn't go particularly well for the team. I mean, Kershaw was terrific in the 9 innings he went, no runs, 13 strikeouts in that game. And how good was Greinke? He easily could have finished that game. 8 innings pitched, no runs as well, 8 strikeouts for Greinke. Now Bumgarner last night, he was gettable, but the things got out of hand a little bit from a defensive standpoint for the Phillies, and they end up losing that game as that one is caught by the shortstop. So, but that is now over and done with. So the Phils are hoping that they can do some damage against Ryan Vogelsong tonight. They get a 1st inning run, so that's a good start. But certainly a tough stretch for any major league team, and the Phils, who were swinging the bats well, certainly didn't fare well against those 3 guys.
Yeah, so the first 5 games, they hit .291 with 24 runs and 13 extra base hits. The last 3 games, you saw the numbers that Murph put up, but a .202 batting average and 4 extra base hits. Well, best thing about baseball is that there's a game the next day.
You face those 3 guys, thank God. Thank goodness there's a game the next day.
Outside to Galvis, 1 ball, 1 strike. Freddie had 1 hit in last night's game. Two balls, 1 strike. Toyota Major League Scoreboard. Matt Harvey Had 9 strikeouts today in 7 innings, but he also hit a home run. His first major league home run. So despite a bad offense, the Mets remain close to the Washington Nationals in the East as Galvis breaks his bat, flares it to left center. Crawford is there, and it's an easy inning for Vogelsong. 1-2-3. Top of the second inning. The standings in the National League East. The Nationals lead the Mets by 2. The Braves are within reach, behind by 6. And then, oh yeah, there are the Phils at 19.5 games out.
The one that broke the story.
No one covers Major League Baseball and the Phils better than Phillies insider Jim Salisbury. Get his reports now and through the All-Star break exclusively on Sportsnet Central, only on Comcast Sportsnet. Jimmy will be out in Cincinnati for the All-Star break. Currently, he's out on that boat right now, enjoying the weekend here in San Francisco.
Are you serious, Clark?
Now Jim's home in his garden. He's making sure his garden is growing properly. Taking the opportunity to get a few days off.
Make sure the deer are staying out of it.
The deer, yeah.
Lots of issues, does Jim.
Deer and the woodchucks and the gophers. They're all hampering Jim's garden. But Jimmy does do a great job, as everybody knows. And that was one of the funnier moments of Andy McPhail's press conference when Jim asked his question. Here in the bottom of the second, it's 1-0 Phillies on top. Brandon Belt, who had 2 hits last night, leads things off. He has 5 hits on this homestand. And the 0-1 is hit out toward left field. Long run for Cody Ashe, and can't get it. It's off the edge of his glove. Well, he made an excellent effort after it. 22nd double of the year for Brandon Belt. Boy, I really thought he was going to get to it and grab it. I don't know what part of the glove it hit off of, but it hit off his glove.
I can't believe this ball traveled this far. He kind of slices it, so you're not going to hit it as far. Meaning you don't hit the ball squarely. You kind of hit a part of it and just cut the ball. Cody gets there, just not able to get the ball in his glove. Now you can see here, he kind of cuts it. It's a breaking ball here. He cuts down on it, and he put more of a side spin. That's why the ball was slicing away from Cody Ashe. But you don't get that full backspin, that carry on the baseball.
He had a ball like that last night in the game that went out toward left center field, and that was one of the pivotal at-bats in Cole Hamels' demise. It was the double with 1 man down that, honestly thought it was going to be caught, but it carried really well. So here's Crawford. Crawford is 0 for his last 12, 1 for his last 23. And it's 1 ball and no strikes to him. Hits that one out toward right center field. Herrera's on the run. He can't get it, and it gets by him. He misplays it. It's going to go to the wall. A run scores, and Crawford's on his way to third. Brandon Crawford will get to third base easily with an RBI triple. And it's a 1-1 ball game.
You're exactly right, Tom. He misplays this ball. He misplays it from a single into a triple. He's going to advance regardless, and the fact that even if he catches it, he's going to advance Brandon Belt to third base. But if you don't think you can get to it, lay up on the baseball, keep him to a single. The run scores. No big deal. It's 1-1. But don't let this ball get by you. That enables Brandon Crawford to get all the way to third base. Play the ball in front of you. Keep him to a single.
Yeah, it changes the entire complexion of this inning, because now a run's in and there's a runner at third base with nobody out. Now Gregor Blanco's the batter, but the Phillies will play the infield back up the middle, and they'll concede the run for an out. And a pitch is inside, 1 ball and no strikes.
I think if you see Gregor Blanco get to 2 strikes, you'll see the middle infielders come in as well. But for now, it's just the corners.
Gregor Blanco having a good season. In fact, his last 17 home games, he's hitting .444. Inside, 2-0.
So we get into damage control. Okay, you have a man on third base, nobody out. Most likely they're going to score a run here. Get Blanco out, Vogelsong out, you got 2 outs, and then the top of the order. This is what you don't want to do.
He's kind of nibbling against the number 8 batter.
You know, I'm taking an out here. Like I said,
Absolutely.
Odds are he's going to score. He's going to hit a ground ball up the middle to one of the middle infielders. That's a run. So be it. You still get an out.
There's a strike at the knees. It's 3-1.
Really surprised he wasn't swinging there. I thought he'd for sure have the green light.
Popped it up. Boy, that's a big out right there. As long as Galvis can make this catch, and he does, 1 away.
Huge out. Nicely done. It's just a cutter in on the hands here. Gets it elevated enough where he can't do anything with it. Now you'll see the infield in.
With Vogelsong at the plate, he's a 115 hitter. And the Phillies do play the infield in. Swing and a miss at the first pitch. It's 0-1. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, they've gone final in Colorado. Carlos Gonzalez's walk-off RBI single has given the Rockies a 3-2 victory over the Atlanta Braves. On the inside corner, it's 0-2. So the Giants lead in the division, or lead over the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place teams. Is 6 over the Rockies, 5.5 over the Padres, and a 1.5 games over the Diamondbacks. 0-2 pitch. That's it, foul off to the right, and it remains no balls, 2 strikes.
This is where, if you feel comfortable as a catcher, throw that curveball, bounce it. I'll block it for you. Just get it in that dirt.
Swing and a miss. He got him with a curveball. Second strikeout with the curve for David Buchanan, and there are 2 outs. All right, so now at the beginning you talk about damage control. You get this pitch here. Now you got to go after the out to get out of this inning, allowing just 1 run.
Yeah, and this would be outstanding if you could do that. But great call by Chooch. I actually had a walkie-talkie down and let him know to throw that deuce. But no, it was outstanding pitch there. You see Chooch tapping his glove. But you're right, damage control. Get out of it right here at 1-1. Everybody be happy.
Angel Pagan grounded out his first time up, and he takes a bit high. It's 1-0.
And how much better would that make Odubel Herrera feel? You know, David Buchanan picking up his teammate. Yeah, I made a bad route on the baseball, but you picked me up, kept the score tied.
That one's hit sharply out to second on 1 hop. Blanco is there, and he allows just the 1 run here in the 2nd inning. A huge effort out of David Buchanan. After the Crawford triple, he gets the next 3 batters, and we'll head to the 3rd. Go to the fan section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. All right, Ben, the question is, who was the last Phillies second baseman before Chase Utley to play in an all-star game? The answer will be revealed a little later on. Huh. That's the kind of question that makes you go, David Buchanan, 4 for 36 during his big league career with 2 career RBIs. Leads it off, takes outside. It's 1-0. You will get this answer. I'm convinced of it, just so you know. This person may even text you and say, "It's me, you big dummy." 2 balls and no strikes.
He might.
He might.
Huh.
2-1. Fastball on the inside corner. David was 1 for 3 in his at-bats at Lehigh Valley. And he fouls it off to the right. One of his hits that he has this year came against Matt Harvey.
No big deal.
No big deal.
We still haven't found out if he got a steak dinner.
Murph, can you walk over to Larry Boa and ask if he purchased the steak dinner for David Buchanan?
Yeah, I'm on it.
All right, thank you. Get yourself some seeds also. Outside, 3-2. Odubel's on deck, getting ready to bat for the second time. Well, that's a good eye.
Keyhole in him.
Man, that was a close pitch. Second walk issued by Vogelsong. Photo night for 2015 is on Saturday, July 18th. It's Apple Vacations Photo Night presented by Now Resorts and Spas. A free magnetic photo frame for all fans. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Come out early. Access to the field begins at 5:05, and photos can be taken of your favorite Phillies player beginning at 5:40 until 6:10. A couple boats lingering out in the McCovey Cove, just in case somebody decides to jump into the cove again. Odubel went around, according to the third base umpire Tim Timmons, on that check swing. We're wondering about the fan who decided to jump in for the souvenir on Joe Panik's home run We said the water was cold. It was 63 degrees. That's what the water is right now at McCovey Cove.
Oof.
That's cold if you're in there for a while. Out of play. 0-2.
The young man was just in there floating like it was a jacuzzi.
Like it was a jacuzzi. I don't know if he really felt like it was a jacuzzi at certain points. I still don't understand what he was using, that orange thing, if it was an inhaler or something else.
Oh.
This is what happened last night. Joe Panik launches a home run. No big deal at this point. Watch the bike and the fan. Oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah. It's so cold.
It's so cold. Oh, 2 pitches hit out toward left field. Boy, he's taking some real weird swings in his first 2 at-bats. Now there's 1 out here in the 3rd. And Andres Blanco will be the batter. Seems very jumpy in the batter's box. I mean, he normally does, but his feet are moving an awful lot.
Yeah, sometimes early on in the ball game here for a 7 o'clock game, the shadows are the worst here. Coming out from batting practice, they're just terrible. And sometimes there'll still be a little bit of sunlight on that backdrop. But now obviously there's nothing, and he's just not picking the ball up at all.
Blanco walked his first time up and scored a run. And that's a strike called, and it's 0-1. Ryan Vogelsong is one of 3 Kutztown players to make it to the major leagues, but he's the first, and it's been an extensive big league career for him. He's the first since 1915 to make it to the major leagues. He was originally a 5th round draft pick out of Kutztown. Our producer Jeff Halkman is a Kutztown grad, so anything that we say positive about his university will get a bell tonight. One ball, 1 strike. And Blanco takes to the knees. It's 1-2. As the story goes, when Vogelsong arrived at Kutztown, he was technically a walk-on, and it was a shortstop. Then they moved him to 3rd, and then 2 pitchers broke their arms before the start of the season. So the coach asked if he would, if he wanted to pitch. So he did, and he was throwing in the high 80s at that point. And it eventually worked up to the low 90s, and then eventually was drafted by the Giants. You never know which way your body's going to take you.
So elevated fastball. I think Whitey was looking for something middle in right there. You see him kind of open up and just flail at that pitch, kind of almost an emergency hack. I'll give Ryan Vogelsong all the credit in the world. The labors that he had to endure, going to Japan, he has done it all.
He went to Japan for 3 years after things didn't work out with the Giants and the Pirates, and then eventually made his way back here to San Francisco and really reinvented himself. In fact, 2012 he was 14-9 with an ERA of 3.37. That's after they traded him in the Jason Schmidt deal, and after he went to Japan and bounced around a little bit and then came back here to San Francisco. 1 ball, 1 strike to Franco, who singled his first time up.
Very nice to hear he really credits his wife for saying, hey, you keep doing it. I'll take care of things at home. I'll be very, very supportive of you and your quest. He always gives her credit, and that's nice to have that support at home.
He almost left the Giants this past offseason and went to the Houston Astros. But you mentioned how good he is here at home. If he's given a chance to stay here, I'd stay here as long as I could if I were him.
I don't want to pitch in that ballpark.
in Houston?
No.
It's probably easier for a right-hander than a lefty because of the Crawford boxes, but still. Just a bit outside. 3-1 to Franco.
How about a homer?
I was going to say, let's see if he can get a spot where he can square one up. Ground ball foul.
See Mike Hill getting out and around that baseball. 3-1. You know, you want to put a good aggressive swing on it. That's not the pitch you're going to hit a home run to left field with. Ball's on the outer third. You see him really kind of cast his hands out and come around that ball and smother it. David Buchanan will be off with the pitch. Get something in the gap. Score him.
He fouls it away, so Buchanan will come back after running on that offering. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Marlins, despite the fact they lost D. Gordon, beat up on the Reds 14-3. JT Real Muto had a home run and a double in that game. Marlins were going to have 2 All-Stars starting, and both All-Stars are now injured. Giancarlo Stanton and D. Gordon. Runner goes again. Ball is chopped to third. Duffy's up with it. Side is retired. So Vogelsong works around the leadoff walk. The Phillies leave one, middle of the third. It's a 1-1 game between the Phils and the Giants. You buy right. Buy your Delaware Valley Honda dealers. Hurry to your local Del Valle Honda dealer. Visit DelValleHondaDealers.com and buy the Pennsylvania Lottery. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day. Phillies fans are represented out here in San Francisco down the right field line. Yeah, we saw you. We start the bottom of the third, and Joe Panik will lead it off. He singled his first time up. Panik singled. It was followed by a Mark Duffy single. That one's lifted out toward left. It's easy play, at least it should be for Ashe. And he makes the catch, one away. Matt Duffy's coming up. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph?
Well, Tom, you remember just a few days ago when we were in Los Angeles and we welcomed the Temple alumni Southern California chapter to Dodger Stadium, right?
I do.
Well, I'd like to welcome the Temple University alumni Northern California chapter to
Excellent, Murph. Excellent on your part.
Yes, those guys get around.
Yes, they do. I don't know if they're going to see Spamalot on the 2nd of August like the folks in Southern California, but
well, if they're not, they should. I saw that. It's excellent.
What about is the Kutztown alumni here? Are they here? The Northern California Kutztown alums?
We have one in the truck. That's all I know.
Is that it?
Yeah.
1 ball, no strikes to Matt Duffy. And it's 2-0. Murph decided to cut it off before the tweets to him about the alums being here overwhelmed his Twitter account. That one's hit down the right field line, and it's a foul ball. 2-1. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the rivalry that has become the Nationals and the Orioles goes to the Nationals tonight, 7-4. Danny Espinosa, home run and 3 RBIs. So that's why the Nats maintain a 2-game lead over the Mets in the division. Line drive, base hit for Duffy. Where did he come from? I mean, seriously. To the wall, and Duffy pulls into second base with a 1-out double. I don't think they need to go out and find a third baseman, at least for this year. I mean, they might as well just keep that kid out there and let him keep swinging.
You said this 6 times in the last couple nights already. The base hit for for Duffy.
Well, I said panic too.
It's a good-looking swing. He's such a skinny kid. You know, he's only going to fill out a little bit more, put some weight on. But you see how well he went to right field last night. See him turn on that ball, hit that ball down the left field line. Tough to pitch to.
Breaking ball to Buster Posey, and it's 0-1. We saw Duffy earlier this year when the Giants were in Philadelphia. That's really when he first started playing third. And he started 22 of the last 23 games over at third base for the Giants. Swing and a miss.
He's the most unassuming player
Buster
in baseball.
Posey. Yeah, I would think he's pretty close to that. I think he's found the right place to play, to be honest with you.
Right manager to play for.
Dominic Brown in foul territory and into the crowd. Oh, man. Dominic, a former football player, just knocked 3 people over.
Reckless abandon.
Look out.
I'm getting one of those Giants fans a forearm shiver. What do you think, Tom?
Clear out some space and catch that ball. I think if Dominic had gotten to the spot, stopped, may have been able to make the catch, but he was moving as it was going in.
And he had the mound to contend with down there. That's the one thing about this ballpark I do not like.
Another foul ball for Posey off his foot. Speaking of Posey, taking a look at our T-Mobile game changer. I mean, you talk about batting average since 2011, 4th best in Major League Baseball. Cabrera, of course, leads the way. 335. I mean, nobody's close to him. And his teammate Victor Martinez is right behind at 316.
That's why I say he's so unassuming. You know, he just does it every year, and you don't hear anything about him.
Out toward the middle. Galvis will get to it. They'll get the out at first. Posey's not running well with that hamstring. Yeah, there are 2 outs for the runner at third. Toward left center field. On the run is Herrera. He'll get to the spot. He'll make the catch. Boy, you were more confident than I was that was going to be caught.
Sound of the bat. He got jammed.
No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. We have completed our first 3. Nice job so far for David Buchanan as we go to the 4th. Mason providing amazingly low prices on kitchen disposables, consumables, small wares, and so much more. From your new restaurant partner, who but W.B. Mason. Well, this is how the Phillies got their run. Ryan Howard, his first at bat.
It's a fastball right down the middle. Like I said, Ryan Vogelsong will give you something to hit. You just have to make sure you capitalize and take advantage of it.
So Howard will lead things off here in the top of the 4th inning. Outside, 1-0. And it's 1 ball, 1 strike.
So you look at the setup right now, that exact ball that Ryan Howard hit would have been gobbled up by Joe
right.
Panik. I mean, it would have basically hit right to him.
Yeah, it would have been 1 hopper. Check swing. Did he go? No, says Tim Timmons.
Might have gotten that one wrong as well. In the naked eye, it looked like he went.
Pete Buchanan was saying today that he told Ryan Howard that they are going to give Darren Ruff more playing time at first base, particularly against left-handers. And he said he appreciated the fact that Howard basically said to him that he's accountable for his numbers this year. That he wants to be out there. He knows that he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. But we've seen that with Darren Ruff getting a chance to swing the bat against lefty pitching. 3rd strikeout for Vogelsong. Ruiz is coming up, and one guy that's starting to swing the bat a little bit better, Murph, is Carlos Ruiz. 7 for 15 on this road trip.
Yeah, he definitely is, Tom. You know, you're just talking about Darren Ruff getting a chance and Ryan Howard, taking some days off. Well, also Carlos Ruiz, we've seen that all season as he grounds this one to Crawford at shortstop. We've seen him getting consistent days off and Cameron Rupp getting an opportunity to play. But you're right, Pete Buchanan was asked to talk about some of the things that he's seen that have been good over the past couple of weeks. weeks, and he said the way Carlos Ruiz is swinging the bat has been a positive. His first 47 games, he had no home runs. He was batting just .231, but in his last 10 games, .273, he has those 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. So we saw it last night. He swung a hot bat last night. He's getting another chance to play here tonight. 0 for 2 tonight, but Pete McCann is saying he did like what he has seen out of Carlos Ruiz. And I got to believe, guys, that the consistent rest that Chooch is getting is got to be helpful for him. Wouldn't you think, Ben?
Yeah, I think so. Listen, if you get older in your career, I mean, the wear and tear, and Chooch has caught a lot over his career, and the more rest you can get, the better off you're going to be, and the quicker your bat's going to be. So I see that paying dividends for him right now.
Cody Ashe out front of that one. It's a fly ball to right field. Back-to-back easy innings for Vogelsong. In fact, he had an 8-pitch inning in the second and an 8-pitch inning here in the fourth. Phillies are retired in order. Phillies, and buy the Quality Plus Ford stores. Go further. That's an easy way to get to the yard if you want to. The California Hornblower. If the California Hornblower didn't arrive last night, then the young man who fell into McCovey Cove would have been in a little bit of trouble. 1 ball, no strikes to Brandon Belt.
He might still be out there, Tom.
Yeah, he'd be out there, but we wouldn't see him. Belt doubled and scored his first time up. Well, they just said that Brandon Belt offered at that pitch. Ground ball, second base. Blanco is there. And an easy out.
Get a new one.
Are you seeing anything different mechanics wise from David Buchanan? He talked about not falling back as much. I think from the stretch I see it more than I do from the windup. I don't know what you see.
To be honest with you, Tom, no, I don't. I think it was so between his ears. He was putting so much pressure upon himself. Prove everybody I can pitch here. I can be just as good as I was in spring training.
And he bunts toward third. Crawford does, barehanded by Franco, and the throw is backed up nicely by Blanco. And that'll be a fun hit for Brandon Crawford.
Well, thank goodness Blanco was there, because I'm looking out and I'm not seeing Don Brown in the picture there in right field. That's a tremendous job by Blanco. I don't even know why Franco threw that ball, but maybe he just wanted to practice. But you see Blanco back in this ball up, and that was, I mean, that definitely would have enabled Crawford to get to second, maybe even a third, with how high that ball was. That would have gone all the way down the line.
Well, they do score a bunt single, so Crawford's 2 for 2. Here's Blanco with one man down, a runner at first. Yeah, you talked about it being in David Buchanan's head. He said it was all mental. Once the season started, I put unneeded pressure on myself. And he said when he went down into the minor leagues, that's what he was trying to work on, is just a pitch. You know, he said pitching in the minor leagues is different than the big leagues, but it's still pitching. So the preparation and everything that went into it, he wanted to get it back to where it was in spring training and then eventually carry it back up here to the big leagues. As always, easier said than done.
Because you know the opportunity that's right in front of you. I mean, right in front of you. Such a great opportunity if you're David Buchanan. Any of these guys that may or not be called up. I mean, it's right there for the taking. Chooch going with a breaking ball here.
And it's too far inside. 2 balls, 1 strike. Opposite way, and that'll drop in front of Cody Ashe. Pitch runners on first and second. With one man down, Vogelsong will come up. Follow the Phillies wherever you are with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com At Bat for your smartphone or tablet. So Vogelsong is up here. Is he bunting here, Ben?
100%. See how far up in the box he is?
Oh, yeah, he did start creeping up pretty quickly. Breaking ball, and they throw behind the runner at second. And Crawford's back easily.
And the reason you do that is because you're pretty much already making contact with the ball in fair territory. You're not back behind the plate where you give yourself more of a chance for that ball to go foul. You'll see him kind of get up there in that box. He'll even inchworm up closer to David Buchanan as his pitch is being delivered, just to make sure his bat is already in fair territory. There you see it.
He offered at it, and it's no balls and 2 strikes.
He'll still be bunting here, I believe. Yep.
He is really close to the plate. And he bunts it in the air. Buchanan knocks it down, throws from a knee. And there are 2 outs. He also put a pretty big hole in the grass.
Replace your divots.
1-4 on the put out on the sack.
Give the runners credit there for getting a good secondary, because this ball is bunted not only back to David Buchanan, but it's up in the air. So a lot of the runners, sometimes they'll freeze and just to see if the pitcher's going to make that play. But those guys were off and running. As soon as that ball was bunted, those guys were on their way.
So Carlos Ruiz goes out to chat with Buchanan, gives him a moment after his knee ripped up the grass when he came sliding in to knock that ball down. Angel Pagan is 0 for 2. He's grounded out twice to the right side. Giants have had base runners in each inning. They've left 4 so far.
Hopefully they'll leave 6.
Off the end of the bat, flared out towards center. Here comes Herrera. He'll make the catch, and yes, they will leave 6. No runs, 2 hits, 2 more lefts. We played our first 4. We'll move to the 5th inning here in San Francisco with the game tied at 1. second baseman before Chase Utley, to play in an all-star game.
Did this particular one have an unassisted triple play?
Yeah.
I would say it would be Mickey Morandini.
Mickey Morandini in 1995. Did he text you and tell you that it was him?
He did not. I don't believe I have his number.
Oh, really?
Uh-uh.
I'll give it to you. It's 1. One ball, no strikes to Dominic Brown, who popped out his first time up. Ground ball, fair. Down the first base line, Brandon Belt. Well, tonight is a special night for the Giants. At 6:15 local time, Grace Witt walked through the gates here at AT&T Park, and she was designated the 50 millionth fan to come to a ball game here at AT&T Park. The Giants are the fastest team. They've done it in year 16 in 1,261 dates to reach the 50 million mark. She received a jersey and an autographed team baseball presented to her by Madison Bumgarner, and also Ben Davis's favorite manager of all time, Bruce Bochy. 50 million fans. Oh, the sellout tonight. 1 ball, no strikes to Galvis. He popped out his first time up. Sellout number 372 in a row.
Freddie with that hit last night. That's how you stay out of prolonged slumps. You know, you get a hit here, a hit there, duck snort off of Clayton Kershaw. You know, things, you know, just to stay out of that 0 for 24, 0 for 25. That's what Freddie's been able to do. He went to a little tailspin there for a little bit, but I'll tell you, he's bounced back nicely and getting his hits from here and there.
Outside, 3-2. Yeah, you get your hit here or there. Eventually, it'll get your swing back to where you want it to be, I would think. Three-two pitch to Galvis. Out towards center field. That's well struck. Pagan going back on it. And he reaches up. He can't get it. It's off the base of the wall. Galvis around second, on his way to third. And he will get there sliding with a 1-out triple. His second triple of the year.
How loud was that off the bat?
That was a heck of a swing. It took off, too.
Little man's got some thunder in there. I thought this was going to be a straight hang with him, Freddie. But the ball managed to get over his head. Angel Pagan's head in center field. Freddie off to the races with a triple.
So he's at third. David Buchanan's the batter. The infield is in. How do you feel about a squeeze here, Ben?
David had a good at bat his first at bat. Let him swing it. Of the safety squeeze variety.
They do appeal whether Buchanan offered it that, and they say no, so it's 1-0. First hit for the Phils since the first inning against Ryan Vogelsong.
Just realized the triple's not as exciting when you're on the road.
It quiets the crowd more than anything.
Yeah.
Outside again, and it's 2-0. Freddie's getting about an extra 5 or 6 steps on the secondary lead. That's why he keeps sprawling back. He just erased the third base line before the bag.
Turn him loose here. 2-0. Let him swing it.
He pops it up. That may be playable for Belt over near the Phillies dugout. Look out, Murph. And it's 2-1. Jorge Velandia was there to make the attempt on that.
See 2-0 there. You know what you're going to get as a pitcher. I don't like the squaring around and having to pull it back. There's too much movement. You know what you're going to get. Swing it.
Yeah, your thought is a 2-0 pitch could be the best cookie you're going to get.
And it was. And then it's 2-1. All of a sudden now Vogelsong's throwing breaking balls in the dirt and you're swinging at it.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Another breaking ball. He waves at it. Buchanan will hustle down to first. The throw is low. But a strikeout recorded. So 4 strikeouts for Vogelsong. The Octorara graduate is trying to work his way out of a 1-out triple for Freddie Galvis. You know, that makes sense. You know, your thought on the 2-0. You're going to get a good pitch. He needs to throw a strike.
Yeah, you're not fooling anybody by holding the bat out there, and then you pull it back, and then you got to swing.
Try to do the butcher boy. So
you're
going to be late.
You see how late he was. He hits a foul ball into the Phillies dugout over on the right side.
Well, they'll leave it up to Odubel Herrera looking for a 2-out base hit with a runner at third. Breaking ball, and it's 0-1. Ball in the dirt, got a piece of Buster Posey.
The breaking ball in the dirt. Went off his left forearm. He got some dirt in his eye as well. It's never good.
Runner at third, no balls, 2 strikes. And he fouls it off. But I'll tell you, I think Odubel Herrera is going to cheer when Ryan Vogelsong is lifted from this game. He just isn't seeing him. That happens, I guess, for a hitter, but he's not seeing the pitches clearly here.
Extremely jumpy. Really dancing around in the box tonight.
Got him. Side is retired. Back-to-back strikeouts. Phillies leave a runner over at third base. We'll go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Joe Panik will lead things off when we return to AT&T Park. PHI League has been teaching kids how to play the game since 1989. Donate a baseball glove or two to the next generation of baseball greats at the Citizens Bank kiosk at Citizens Bank Park. At Citizens Bank, we want to help you bank better. So the next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself. Ask a citizen. Joe Panik leads it off here in the bottom of the 5th, and David Buchanan starts him off with a strike. It's 0-1. Panik is 1 for 2. He singled his first time up and fly to left his second time up. David Buchanan has looked much more comfortable this time around than in any of his first 5 starts. He's getting a lot of swings like that right there. Nothing squared up, although the Giants are 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. There's one away. Matt Duffy's coming up. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph.
All right, guys. Well, it's time for our Coors Banquet Timeless Moment. And it's on this date, July 11th, back in 1950, when Robin Roberts becomes the first Phillies pitcher to start the All-Star game as the National League took on the American League at Chicago's Comiskey Park. Then Roberts went on to start 5 of the decade's first 6 All-Star games. So he was a regular at the Midsummer Classic. One of the all-time greats, Robin Roberts.
Okay, he made 7 consecutive All-Star appearances, and to the day he died, or the weeks leading up to his death, and we got a chance to see him in spring training the year he passed away, like we always do. Just one of the nicest people you will ever come across. And I think we were telling Vin Scully this. That's right, name dropping. Vin Scully this the other day, that he was so current with today's baseball. You could talk to him about anything. He was a heck of a player. Matt Duffy takes inside. 2 balls, 1 strike.
That is an amazing stat, though. Started 5 of the first 6.
Yeah. And appeared in 7 in a row. Fly ball out to right center field. Dominic Brown going back and makes the catch right on the edge of the track, and there are 2 outs. So 2 away, and here's Buster Posey.
I just feel like they just climbed a mountain right there, getting Duffy out.
Yeah, and even Panik.
Yeah.
So did you go down to the field with Buster Posey in earshot and say to Bruce Bochy, or say to Buster Posey, how does it feel to be Bruce Bochy's second favorite catcher of all time?
I really wanted to, but he had just got done hitting and was making his way into the dugout, so I did not have a chance.
Would your former manager say to you anything?
No, I was just asking how the family was, what I've been up to.
Ground ball back off the mound and backhanded by Blanco. He still has time, and he's not able to get it there in time. That'll be an infield hit. Posey's aboard with 2 outs.
Shane Ryan wasn't able to stay on the bag here because I think they may have had a shot with Buster's bad wheel. Does a good job of getting to his feet quickly. No, he would have beaten it.
Yeah, and Ryan had to come off because the throw was kind of taking him toward the infield grass. There is Ben Davis's former manager.
Yeah, we're just talking, and I said, you know what, Boch? I said, man, Justin Maxwell, 4 knocks last night, not even in the line. I said, it's a tough leg. He goes, just the way it goes.
0-1 to Pence. Pence is 0 for 2. He is struck out and he's flied out.
Now, I got to play for, obviously, numerous managers, but I didn't realize how good Boch was at the time when I was actually playing for him until I went and moved on and played for different skippers. And, you know, just his grasp of the game, you know, being a former catcher and giving me different lessons and things to talk about and think about. You know, I really didn't know it at the time how good he was.
Well, there's some folks that think he has managed his way into being considered for the Hall of Fame after winning 3 World Championships here in San Francisco and doing it with 3 very different teams. Obviously, the guy that's standing on first base has been the foundation piece of those World Championships. But, I mean, to have the teams that he's had, and he's had a great pitching staff, but he's done an incredible job since coming up from San Diego. 1-2 pitch. And that gets away from Ruiz and goes back into the crowd. So Posey stops at second. Second wild pitch of the night.
Nothing Chooch could do on that one. And I mean nothing. That was really short.
Swing and a miss, and for the second time tonight they get Hunter Pence with a runner in scoring position. The Giants are now 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position after last night going 11 for 21. Selected to join the National League in the 2015 All-Star Game. Jonathan has been closing the door for the Phillies with consistency since he arrived, and the 2015 season hasn't been any different. Leading up to his Midsummer Classic selection, he had saved all 14 attempts, 16 straight dating back to last season, and 30 of his last 31 opportunities. Papelbon's 6th All-Star nomination is well-deserved. And it's brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Phillies are hoping beyond hope that they get a chance to use Jonathan Papelbon tonight in front of some Phillies fans and, of course, some Quaker fans. As we begin the top of the 6th inning, Andres Blanco will lead it off. It'll be Andres, Maikel Franco, and Ryan Howard. Now the first pitch is fouled by Blanco. And it's 0-1. Blanco's been one of the Phillies' best pinch hitters. He has 7 extra base hits as a pinch hitter, but really good even as a starting player, even though it's only his 11th start. Hitting .316 in his starts this year.
He's always ready to hit.
That one's hit out towards second. A one-hopper to Panic. And there's one away. Who are the top 20 sports figures Philadelphians love to hate? Find out on the Philly Villains Countdown Sunday night starting at 9, only on the Comcast Network.
Sidney Crosby.
Number 1?
I think so. That's who I'd go with.
Tony Romo's got to be in there, right?
Yes. I think he'd just go to Cowboys in general. The whole team. Bury the whole team.
0-1 to Maikel Franco. Franco is 1 for 2. And that's low. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You ever been to At Glen, Pennsylvania, Tom?
I think I've driven through it. I haven't been there.
Sprawling metropolis.
Chester County?
Yes, I believe so.
2-1 to Maikel Franco. Outside 3-1.
It might even be Lancaster County. It's off at 41. It's out there a bit.
So how long have you known Ryan Vogelsong?
For a long time.
Yeah. I mean, was it just from playing against him?
No, just, we would always work out at the same indoor facility back home. See him. He's good friends with a buddy of mine that also played pro ball.
That's a really big swing by Maikel Franco. He's trying to zero in on a 3-1 pitch. It was a little low. How many times have you caught Vogelsong when you work out?
I don't think I've ever caught him.
Oh, even when you're working out?
I don't think so, no. I caught up with him after his batting practice session yesterday. I said, man, that's just different sound coming off your bat. He goes, shut up.
That one's hit well out toward left center field. Pagan on the run. He's going to get there. He'll make the catch for the second out. 2 away here in the top of the 6th inning. Well, you think about Vogelsong in his season. We mentioned how good he was during the month of May. I mean, his numbers were outstanding. Actually, during the month of June, he was unbeaten, 4-0. The Giants were 5-0. He had an ERA of 1.14.
He's been efficient tonight. Only 80 pitches thus far. We're through 5 2/3.
Howard takes inside, 1-0. Little out front.
Ackland is in Chester County.
Chester County?
Yes.
In the air to right field. That's well hit. Hunter Pence going back. He'll just watch it go off the top of the wall. It's in play and it's rolling toward Triple's alley. Ryan Howard's around second, heading toward third, and now they're signaling home run. I thought it hit the roof. It hit the roof of the Levi's landing, but the umpires didn't signal right away. So it looked like it was in play, and then finally the first base umpire, Gabe Morales, gave the signal. It's a solo home run for Howard. It's a 2-1 Phillies lead.
Make that poor man run all that way.
Yeah. If it hits the green here, that's the ground rule. It's a home run. That's where I thought it hit. I didn't think it hit the wall. Take a look. Oh, boy, that's really close. They'll confer. The umpires will. I think it hit the green. Yeah, that angle right there looks like it hit just on the front edge of the green. They're going to review this. I mean, why not? They can. It's not as definitive. It's not as definitive as you probably would like it to be for a home run. But if it hits the green roof here at AT&T Park, then it is a home run. And the two umpires, the first base umpire and the second base umpire, they were both out there, but they didn't signal right away. So Hunter Pence looked and said, all right, well, it's in play. We all looked and thought it was in play. Watch the slow-mo. Look where it hits. And that's a home run. That's right on the edge of the green roof. Boy, that is really close.
And then doesn't hit that little netting.
That I couldn't tell, but
it
did take a heck of a bounce out toward the 421 side.
I can't believe that ball. I mean, the wind is blowing in from right field. That ball came off the bat loud.
Yeah, it did.
And honestly, I thought that ball was for sure.
I think topspin. A little more topspin than backspin.
I mean, Hunter Pence just turned around, didn't even take a step. And I thought that ball was going to end up in the bay.
Watch it again. The umpires are taking their headphones off down on the field. And they signal home run. So that's the right call. We see it hit that roof. So it is a home run for Ryan Howard, his second RBI of the night. And the Phillies lead it 2-1 here in the top of the 6th inning.
Big piece. Wait, Ryan.
So the call is confirmed. So they did see conclusive evidence, what we showed you, that it was indeed a home run. You know, we talk about the umpires. You know, for us as broadcasters, what we look at, we'll look at the signal from the umpires when a ball is down the line. If we can't tell, because they have a better view of it, that's still a tough angle if you're the umpires, because the roof, and you know, all ballparks are different for their ground rules, but the roof is, it's tough to see whether it hits the roof or not. Honestly, we probably have a better angle than they do up here because we're a little higher. Well, Christine Juarez of Hamilton, New Jersey, you've just won $100 thanks to the McDonald's home run jackpot.
Way to go, Christine.
Probably some good places in Hamilton you can spend that, including a McDonald's. Maybe go to Halo Pub or one of those other places to spend $100. 3 balls, 1 strike to Carlos Ruiz. Outside ball 4, so Carlos is aboard. And Cody Ashe is coming up to the plate. Cody's looking into the dugout, and now Dave Righetti will come out, the longtime pitching coach for the Giants. Well, this Tuesday, extraordinary moments can be seen in Cincinnati when the 86th All-Star Game will take place. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's July 14th on Fox. Josh Osich is the left-hander who's starting to throw in the pen for the Giants. There he is.
Well, Ryan Howard is definitely taking advantage of getting a good pitch to hit. He did it in his first at bat tonight with a signal to right field. That scored Blanco, and it's another good one and deposit just far enough for a home run here in the 6th inning.
Phillies are 2 runs now on 4 hits, and 2 of those 4 hits have come from Ryan Howard. Ashe takes a strike. It's 0-1.
That's like 50%, Tom.
Excellent math on your part, Ben.
That's right.
Outside and low.
Don't mind Cody getting into one either.
Now time is called by Ashe. Vogelsong's at 92 pitches, and he is due to bat 4th in the bottom of the 6th inning. Ruiz goes, and the pitch is hit foul off the end of the bat by Cody. And it remains 2 balls, 2 strikes.
They weren't holding him on, so Chu said, you know what, I'm out of here. Brendan Belt will now hold Chooch on.
Now Carlos will indeed be off with the count 3-2 and 2 men down.
Belt will play behind them. Come on, Cody.
Ruiz goes. Pitch is hit in the air to deep right field. Way back there. It is gone! Out of the stadium into McCovey Cove. A 2-run moonshot for Cody Ashley, and the Phillies now lead it 4-1.
Ask and you shall receive, Tom.
Boy, he did get into that one.
Yaka.
Home run number 5 for Ashley. 13 RBIs on the season.
Whew. I'm thinking change up there, Tom. What extension. You could see him really using that lower half, driving the baseball with his legs. And that is a splash.
Well, here comes Bruce Bochy. That's going to be it for Ryan Vogelsong. So a pitching change here at AT&T Park. The Phillies have 5 hits tonight. 2 of those hits home runs, including one by Cody Ashley. They now lead it 4-1 here in the 6th. A toy drive. Toys will be donated to the POW and other local organizations. Phillies ball girls will collect new unwrapped toys at all entrance gates. Gates open open till the 3rd inning. Also, you get a chance to meet Fanta Claus and Santa Claus. Well, the gift that keeps on giving for a Philly fan is a home run. And tonight, Cody Ashley's homered and Ryan Howard's homered. And now Josh Osich in his 5th ball game will take over for Ryan Vogelsong. There's Cody, all smiles. That was a sweet swing.
Beautiful swing.
First Philly ever to hit one into McCovey Cove. I say that with a little surprise because Dominic Brown hit one a few years ago that was pretty long here, but didn't go into McCovey Cove. Ryan Howard, of course, has hit 8 home runs here. None have gone into McCovey's Cove. Swing and a miss, 1-1. It's the 37th visiting player. He's the 37th visiting player to hit one into the Cove.
Now, can it go into the Cove on a bounce?
I think it's got to cleanly go in. I think that's what Dominic Brown did a few years ago. 1-1 strike to Brown. 1-2.
Two quick outs and then some lightning.
Fouled it back and it remains 1-2.
A quick arm, Osich. Puts there at 96.
Another foul ball. It remains 1-2. Dominic is 0 for 2. He's popped out to short. And he's grounded out to first. There's Jake Diekman loosening up in the pen. And now the 1-2 pitch coming. That one's looped down the left field line, and Blanco makes a nice running grab. Side is retired. However, the Phillies break a 1-1 tie with 2 home runs. The first one, they had to review it. It went off the green roof out in right center field off the batter Ryan Howard. The second one, well, there's no need for a review on this one. Into the water. And by Toyota. Where will Toyota take you? Visit buyatoyota.com to find out. Toyota, let's go places. Cody Ashley, Ryan Howard, each homered in the Phillies half of the 6th inning to give the Phils a 4-1 lead. So with a 3-run lead, the Phillies have decided to turn things over to the bullpen. Jake Diekman will take over for David Buchanan. I think I'm a little surprised that Buchanan's being lifted from this game, although he has worked out of trouble a few times. The Giants have had 10 opportunities with runners in scoring position. They're 1 for 10. So I guess they figure a fresh arm. Maybe get 2 innings from Diekman. Although no, Diekman's due to bat second in the 7th inning.
You do have 3 straight lefties up.
Yeah. There's that old adage. I don't know if you buy into this or not, Ben, but when you have a pitcher that is young or struggling, which Buchanan was, as Howard digs that out, and they just get Brandon Belt. Buchanan was struggling in his previous 5 starts in the big leagues. You get him out with a good feeling, and a 3-run lead is a pretty good feeling.
It is, but 72 pitches.
Yeah, now we only have 1 game left before the All-Star break, so everybody's going to get a nice long rest.
We'll see how this plays out. Is it the right move? 3 straight lefties up. It's a smart move, but 72 pitches.
There's a bloop into left field for Brandon Crawford, who's 3 for 3. So much for 0 for his last 12. Yeah, I think the more I look at it now, that Pete was probably looking at all the base runners. 2 for 7 guys left on base, 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. And as you said, all the lefties. The righty Maxwell is coming out of the on deck circle. Garcia is warming up in the bullpen. And Gregor Blanco's the batter. And he bunts toward the first base line, and it's rolling. Oh, it hits something and it's going to stay fair. It hit a footprint, I think, in the baseline, and it kicked it fair right there. You see that, Mark?
Gotta be kidding me.
That is amazing.
You would think just the cutout of the grass would make that ball go foul, because the chalk line and the cut of the grass are so close to each other. They're pretty much right on top of each other. You can see how close the white is. And right there, the ball kicks back left. I can't believe that ball ends up staying fair. Right there. Man. You can see how close that is. I mean, I would say that's probably only 8 or 9 inches at the most. And it just stayed right along that chalk and then
right there. That's really amazing. That's great. That is great camera work too. So 2 on with 1 out after the bunt single by Blanco. And Justin Maxwell, who had 4 hits last night, will pinch hit for the Giants. And here comes Pete Mackanin. He's going to make a double switch. So Garcia is going to come on. Francoeur is going to come in for Dominic Brown. And the thought here is that Garcia is going to pitch more than just this 6th inning, the rest of the 6th inning. So a pitching change here at AT&T Park. We'll be back right after this. First, it'll wrap up on Sunday, August 2nd. All fans coming to the ballpark on Sunday the 2nd will receive the Phillies Wall of Fame Fathead. On the 31st, Pat Burrell will be inducted into the Wall of Fame. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. 1 man down, bottom of the 6th inning. Pete Mackanin makes a double switch. He brings in Luis Garcia to face Justin Maxwell. With runners on first and second, Garcia 36 strikeouts so far this season. First pitch just misses inside. 1-0.
No, it didn't.
On the outside corner, a 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
Such a heavy ball he throws, I tell you. Near the pop of the mitt from up here. See Chooch's hand just really a lot of give. A lot different when he's catching Garcia.
Swing and a miss. 1-2.
Man. A ground ball of the double play variety would be very useful here, Tom.
Check swing on a slider.
Nice job by Chooch there. Keep that double play in order. I don't think that one felt too good either.
He's trying to smother everything he can. Swing and a miss. He got it with a slider out of the strike zone. 2 outs here in the 6th inning. Well, that's the first time that Maxwell has faced Garcia. When you face him for the first time, he's really a tough guy to pick up. So Angel Pagan will now be the hitter.
Especially if he's locating his fastball. That's what sets up this very good slider down the dirt. Because you have to respect that fastball enough to get it started. And if you're not picking up that spin on that slider early, you're going to be swinging at it.
Well, here's Pagan, 0 for 1 lifetime against Garcia. He's 0 for 3 tonight. 2 ground outs and a fly out to center field. Phillies lead it 4-1. Despite the fact the Giants have 10 hits tonight. Fastball in there, 0-1. Well, he's locating everything now. The fastball and the slider. I mean, Pagan was way off balance on that.
I just don't think he saw it.
So what do you come back with here? Would you go back with the slider again in the same spot?
Yes.
Trying to get through this 6th inning. And the 0-2 pitch. Slider just a bit low, 1-2. He didn't go to the same spot. He went with the same pitch, but not the same spot.
That one had more depth on it. It was more top to bottom than the east to west that we normally see out of Luis.
Now that was the same one as the 2-strike slider, but this time Pagan laid off. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Oh, Ruiz will go back out to the mound to talk to Garcia. Trying to make sure that they're on the same page with the tying run at the plate. The only other time Garcia faced Angel Pagan, he grounded out against him. In fact, most of these guys have not faced him at all. If they have, they faced him one time. 2-2 pitch. And that one's pulled down the right field line. It's going to the corner. A one hop off the wall, and it's over the head of Francoeur. 1 run is in. Here comes the 2nd run, and it's a double for Angel Pagan, and he makes it a 4-3 ball game. Crawford scored easily, and once the ball caromed off the wall, Blanco was able to score easily. A 2-run double for Angel Pagan, his 11th double of the season.
This is the worst thing that could happen to Jeff Francoeur. He just went to the well one too many times. The pitch was up a little bit more. The worst thing that could happen to Jeff Francoeur is the fact that this goes off that brick wall out in right field and caroms over Frenchie's head. That allowed Blanco to score.
All right, well, now you got Panik to deal with. Panik is 1 for 3 in this game. So they use Diekman for the first 3 batters, and now this is the 3rd batter for Garcia. Boy, did he have Pagan buried. No balls and 2 strikes, and he just couldn't put him away.
Hindsight's always going to be 20/20. Was the slider the right call? It could have been. It just wasn't in the right spot.
Execution. Yep. I think the slider was the right call. I mean, you know better than I do. I just, just execution, right?
Yep. Really have to bury it there.
2 balls, no strikes. Panik from the left side, ready to go. Fouls it away. It's 2-1. Set up to be the strength of the Phillies this year. The bullpen certainly at times has not been a strength. 3 balls, 1 strike to Panik. Inside. Boy, that's a heck of a play by Ruiz. And it puts runners on first and second. And the batter will be Matt Duffy. Bob McClure heading out to the mound to talk to Luis Garcia. Now the Giants, we mentioned, 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position until that double by Angel Pagan. And although you have righty on righty with Duffy coming up, he is one of the hottest hitters, at least in this series.
Yeah, but I'd much rather face Duffy here. Righty on righty.
Agree.
We saw what he did to Maxwell, righty on righty. And Duffy has never faced Luis Garcia.
Still a 1-run lead for the Phils here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Fastball in there at the outside corner, 0-1. Good life on that fastball from Garcia.
Luis overthrowing that one. You see him really spin off and just too much energy used on that delivery.
And 97, whether the gun is hot or not, that's a little sharper than what he usually throws by a couple miles an hour. 1 ball, 1 strike to Duffy. Out toward right center field. Odubel Herrera on the run. He's not going to get it. It goes out to Triples Alley. 2 runs will score, and Duffy's on his way to third, and the Giants take the lead. And the moves have backfired on the Phillies here in the 6th inning. Their 2 relief pitchers have given up 2 runs apiece.
Garcia choosing to go pretty much all sliders to Pagan. It goes all heaters with Duffy. I tell you what, that's a good looking swing.
He has 3 hits tonight. He has 7 hits in the series. It's 5-4, Giants on top, and Buster Posey takes strike 1. Out of play, 0-2. Duffy, a former 18th round selection by the Giants out of Long Beach in 2012. Came up last year, played in 34 games, didn't hit badly. This year, though, it's a little different story. He's averaged just a point under 300. No balls, 2 strikes. Elvis Araujo going out to start warming up in the pen. Posey has homered against Luis Garcia. That's his only at bat against the Phillies right-hander. And now the 2-2 pitch coming. In the dirt, 3-2. He just can't put anybody away here tonight. Except for Maxwell, who he struck out, but he's allowed 3 straight base runners since.
2-pitch pitcher. You know, I think it this goes back to that bat with Pagan. He had him buried.
And he was really overmatching him with the first couple pitches.
You saw last night just a ton of foul balls. It is an advantage, though, as a hitter, knowing the pitcher only has 2 pitches. It's one or the other, and they're both hard, velocity-wise.
Ground ball right side. That's going to sneak into right field for Buster Posey. Another run scores. An RBI single. His second dribbling hit of the night. 5 runs have scored in the inning. It's a 6-4 San Francisco lead.
Good hitters get these kinds of hits. They just put together good at bats, professional bats. They're never out of sync at home plate, never falling over. The balance is good. Staying within themselves is what they're doing.
Hunter Pence takes one in the dirt. Posey's on his way to second. He'll get there. It'll be a wild pitch. 9 men have come to the plate now in this inning, as things have unraveled for the Phillies after 5 innings from David Buchanan, where he allowed 8 hits and 1 run. The bullpen, though, has allowed 5 runs here in the 6th inning.
Both these teams doing a lot of damage. This inning in particular with 2 outs.
Way upstairs. 2 balls, no strikes to Hunter Pence. He has struck out twice tonight. He's also flied to center.
27 pitches already for Luis. This will be his last batter with Araujo in the bullpen and Brandon Belt on deck.
Off the glove of Ruiz. The 2 wild pitches. Got the green light, and he got a piece of it. It's a foul tip. It's 3-1. The comparisons between what Buchanan did through 5 and what the bullpen has done here in the 6th. That's a line drive to right field right at Jeff Francoeur, and the inning is over. 5-run score for the Giants in the inning. 5 base hits. 9 men come to the plate. We go to the 7th. The Giants have taken the lead 6-4. Time now for your Delaware Valley Honda Dealers game summary. Well, you just saw some of the swings that are part of tonight's storyline. Ryan Howard has a couple RBIs tonight for the Phillies, including a home run. David Buchanan was pretty effective through 5. They lifted him in the 6th inning with a 4-1 lead. And then the bullpen gave up 5 earned runs. Matt Duffy has 3 hits tonight, a single, double, and a triple. It was his triple that gave the Giants the lead in that inning. So now it's Hunter Strickland who will take over. Strickle will take over here in the 7th as Luis Garcia watches from the dugout, hoping his offense can find a little offense again.
Get it ready.
First pitch is down low to Freddie Galvis. Managers, coaches, they make decisions and they live by those decisions. I can understand what Pete Mackanin was thinking about David Buchanan, but 72 pitches is pretty light workload. Now, would he have been better than Jake Diekman and Luis Garcia? Who knows?
Right.
It's all about execution. You roll the dice, you make the change, and you hope that the pitchers can come through. Well, they did not come through. 1 ball, 1 strike to Galvis. He's 1 for 2. And he's out front 1-2.
And you look at the way it's set up too. It's the first out. Okay, that's not a problem. So you get Brandon Belt 6-3. And you get a broken bat to Crawford.
Right.
You get a bunt base hit that hits something and ends up fair. I'm not making excuses. It's just that is baseball.
Ground ball foul, and it remains 1-2.
That is baseball. And then things just unravel after that.
Wants it sharply. Boy, Belt is really good over at first, and he will beat Galvis to the bag. And 1 away here in the 7th inning. He's made every play in these 2 games so far.
He is good over there.
Well, speaking of good, here's our defensive play of the game, brought to you by Hyundai.
And here it is, Brandon Belt. Hugging the line and no doubles. Especially with a lefty up, you're going to be close to that line. Despite Strickland throwing so hard, you're still going to hug the line a little bit more.
Jeff Francoeur will bat for the first time. He came on as part of a double switch. Jeff overall hitting .249 with 6 homers and 26 runs batted in. Swing and a miss, and there are 2 outs.
That's why I said get it ready.
Yeah, because he was going to bring it. We saw that last year when he pitched well enough to make the postseason roster. Wasn't great in the postseason for the Giants.
This is just 98 by him. And you can see that ball splits the plate, but an 86 slider first pitch and the 97-98.
Well, now Odubel Herrera. We'll see if his style is a little different now that he's not facing Vogelsong. He had trouble with Vogelsong, who retired him all 3 times. A couple strikeouts and a fly out. Now the pitch to him. Swing and a miss. It's 0-1. He was geared up for the fastball, and he didn't get the fastball.
Good change up there.
Boy, he is dancing tonight.
He's on skates up there.
Yeah. It's not totally new. We have seen that from time to time, but recently he's really been able to slide in there and handle things. That one's pulled sharply. Now that was a good swing. It was a pitch that was up, and he was able to pull it. So 2-out single, and that brings the tying run to the plate in Andres Blanco.
After a steady diet of off-speed pitches this evening, his eyes lit up when he saw that heater. It's a good swing on it. Hopefully Andres can chase him around.
Last year, Strickland came up late, pitched in 9 scoreless games for the Giants, and then made the postseason roster. And his ERA for the postseason was 7.56. He gave up 6 home runs in the postseason for the Giants.
It was unbelievable.
Gave up 3 in the National Series, but he got a win. He gave up 1 in the Cardinals series, and then he gave up 2 in the World Series. Two balls, no strikes. Javier Lopez.
Be getting ready for Ryan Howard should his spot come up.
And George Cantos is the right-hander that was warming up. That one shot the other way, and it's a fair ball going down the left field line. It skips off the top of the mounds. Herrera is on his way to third, Blanco to second, and the tying run is at second base for the Phillies with Maikel Franco coming up. 10th double of the year for Andres Blanco.
Really good at bat there.
All right, so now a base hit here changes the feeling of this ball game if you're the Phils.
Another reason why I don't like the bullpens on the field. I'm not saying this ball would get all the way down, but it bumps over that bullpen, loses some speed, ricochets into the wall, and you know, Blanco can get to it out there.
Well, here comes Bruce Bochy. He's going to go to a different right-hander here. So Strickland's done. Instead of Hunter Strickland, who throws high 90s, they'll go to George Cantos. A pitching change for the Giants with 2 outs here in the 7th inning. We'll be back to AT&T Park right after this. 18 and older will receive the Pennsylvania Auto Theft Prevention Authority travel mug. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com, and don't forget to bring your toys to the yard. They'll be collecting them at the gates. The Phillies ball girls will be doing that. Top of the 7th inning, 2 outs, runners on 2nd and 3rd. Another pitching change for the Giants. Bruce Bochy goes from a guy that he trusts a little bit to a guy that he trusts even more, George Cantos. Both right-handers, both throw in the 90s. One has more movement than the other. And Cantos has not allowed an inherited runner to score this year, and the opposition is hitless with runners in scoring position against him. So hence the move.
42 innings pitched. He's a worker.
23 inherited runners. None of those 23 have scored. That's a lot of inherited runners. Well, he's due. Opposition's 0 for 26 against him with runners in scoring position. Franco's up with 2 runners on and 2 in scoring position here in the 7th. Swings at the first pitch and he spins it up the first base line, and Cantos makes the play, gathers himself, and takes it right to the first base bag. And the side is retired. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 men left in scoring position. You want to talk about taking things into your own hands? That's exactly what Cantos did. It's time to stretch here in San Francisco. Every time the Phillies retire the opposing team 1, 2, 3, Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity, the official entertainment provider of the Philadelphia Phillies. Elvis Araujo is the new pitcher, and he's on to face Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford, Gregor Blanco. 3 straight lefties again. Same scenario as the 6th. Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. You see the numbers on Araujo, 1-1, an ERA of 3.33. High fastball, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Pretty good pace of this game as well, Tom. And then it just came to a screeching halt.
You look at that 6th inning. There's so many things that stand out. that it's just frustrating for a Phillies team that's been frustrated all year. Belt's going to be aboard with another base hit. He just hooked that one into right field. His second hit of the night. Last night the Giants had 22 hits. It's not 22, but they're certainly putting one hit after another up on the board. They now have 14 hits in this ball game. 36 in 2 games. Eesh.
I'm just very impressed at the foul balls, the approach. I mean, they might get into a hole, but they're finding a way out of that hole.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that.
With these at bats, I tell you, I mean, they're
6th inning alone. You can look at those at bats and realize that they were in the hole an awful lot.
And I wouldn't say that the Phillies pitchers are predictable, where you can really look for a pitch or sit on a pitch. I just see them with a good approach and not trying to do a whole lot.
Outside, it's 2 balls and no strikes.
Look at the couple hits that Buster Posey's had tonight. Dribbler up the middle. I mean, the ball to right field off Garcia last inning. I mean, he was down in the count. Got a pitch that he could handle, or he thought he could handle, didn't try and do too much, and bled one to right field, but it's still a hit and an RBI.
What did that used to tell you, though, the foul balls when you were a catcher? I mean, did that give you a signal that there was something wrong with what was happening on the mound?
Well, they're comfortable. I think they're very comfortable. They're getting out there, maybe diving a little bit. I'm not seeing a whole lot of pitches. And I talked with Larry last night after the game about it. Not a whole lot of doubling up. You throw a good pitch inside, man, throw another one in there. Triple up.
Well, in the whole moving the feet concept that we've talked about most of the year, I mean, we haven't seen that when you talk about how comfortable the hitters are. We thought somebody was going to get hit last night, not because they were hitting so many balls, but because the Phillies had 2 batters hit and they were hitting so many baseballs. Chopper right side. Blanco's going to try to get 2. There's 1, and that's all they'll get. Galvis loses the ball on the slide by Belt, but it was already out of his glove. So the force is at second, 4-6 on the putout, 1 away.
Good hard slide there by Brandon Belt. It's a nice feed here by Andres Blanco. Freddie gets to it, just loses the handle. For those wondering at home, he was within arm's length of the bag, which is a legal slide.
Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Blanco's bunt, his last time up, certainly added a little zest to that inning for the Giants. One ball, 1 strike. There you go. Even if he didn't mean it, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, that'll open your eyes a little bit.
Phillies will have 2 more opportunities And when they bat in the 8th inning, it'll be Ryan Howard that'll lead it off. It'll be Howard, Ruiz, and Ashe. It's Joaquin Arias in the on-deck circle for the Giants. Fastball in there, 3-2. They sending Crawford here, Ben, you think? 3-2, 1 out?
Probably. The only thing is he hasn't looked very comfortable with his secondary lead against Elvis.
No, he's going to hold. You're right. There's ball 4. 2 on, 1 out. Arias is coming up. Let's go to Murph with the Major League Notebook. Murph.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. Brought to you by St. Joseph's University. And a couple of guys around Major League Baseball got the nod today, heading to the All-Star game in Cincinnati. We told you earlier in the game, D. Gordon is out with that dislocated thumb, so Troy Tulowitzki is going to take his spot. And in a week where he had 2 walk-off home runs, Twins second baseman Brian Dozier also got the nod today. He is going to replace Jose Bautista. And a little bit of history made tonight in Seattle when the first pitch was thrown out by Evelyn Jones. What's the history? Well, how about she's 108 years old.
Wow.
She becomes the oldest person ever to throw a baseball out in a Major League Baseball game, shattering the old record out of 105, by the way. And she gave everybody in the ballpark a little piece of advice when asked how to keep a long life, a long, healthy life. She said, just keep having more birthdays. That's all you have to do. So I wrote that down. I'm going to put that in the Major League Notebook every day. Guys, back upstairs.
All right, Murph, we appreciate that. Double switch time for the Phils. 2 runners on for the Giants. We'll be back right after this. It's 3-2 with a 1.95 earned run average. And he's on to face Ehire Adrianza. And not Joaquin Arias. Apparently Arias was not introduced. So he's still on the lineup card available. But Pete Buchanan looked like he was going with the right-hander no matter what. As he probably wants a strikeout here. Foul ball down the left field line, 0-1. Adrianza, 6'1", 170 pounds, hitting 100 so far in the big leagues. Down the right field line, that'll hook foul. Eesh. 97 on the fastball, but Adrianza gets a piece of it. And it remains no balls and 2 strikes. Adrianza is a 25-year-old out of Venezuela, signed by the Giants in 2006. He's been up for parts of the last 3 seasons. Last year, 53 games with the Giants. 0-2 is hit foul again. Played in 9 games in 2013. And he is 1 for 10. His one hit was a double. 1 for 10 so far this year in the big leagues, after hitting .316 in AAA.
Guys like that are used so sparingly. It's just really hard to get a scouting report. I mean, you can think about it. The scouting reports nowadays are so extensive. Pitching, defense, alignments, spray charts. I mean, they are extensive. Then you have a guy that has 10 at-bats this year. It's like, well, where do you go?
Well, they've tried every fastball in every direction, and he's fouled a bunch off. That one he takes for ball 1. Ground ball right side, off the glove of Howard, into shallow right field. Another run will score. Speeding to third is Blanco. We'll see how they score it. We do know, though, it's the 7th run for San Francisco. It's a 7-4 ball game.
I think that'll go down as a hit. Especially in their own ballpark. Ryan Howard gets to it. It just takes a long hop. The second hop is the one that you get the top spin. That's the one you don't know if it's going to stay down or spray up. That one sprayed up on Ryan Howard.
Well, they scored an E3, so no RBI. But it's 7-4 San Francisco. And with each passing run, it gets tougher and tougher for Phillies offense to erase the deficit. And Angel Pagan, who has one of the defining hits in this game for the Giants, a double in the 6th inning. I say that because that gave the Giants a little boost of confidence, because he was in the hole 0-2 to Luis Garcia, and he doubled home 2 runs to make it a 1-run game.
In the hole and looking terrible.
Terrible.
Just everything's away.
They foul it back again. It's 2-1.
Still only the 1 out in this inning.
Ground ball out towards second. It'll be tough to turn too. Hernandez tags and throws to first, but he tagged with the open glove. The run scores, and Adrianza will be tagged out, but it's 8-4 Giants on top. The run does count. Cesar Hernandez tagged the base runner with an open glove with the ball in his throwing hand, so the out was not recorded. Then he fired to first for the 2nd out, and the run down produces the 3rd out. Watch it right here as we wrap things up here in the 7th inning. The ball comes out of his glove. Oh, he even missed him. It didn't matter anyway, although he was out of the baseline. #1-800-JEFF now or visit jefferson.edu. And by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop Nissan.com. 8-4 Giants on top. The Giants have scored 7 unanswered runs. And Javier Lopez will come on to face Ryan Howard. Jedmar Gomez goes out to start throwing. I thought maybe they'd get Papelbon into an inning here, even though there's a game tomorrow too. By the way, the double play is scored 4-3, 6-3, 6. Howard is 2 for 3. He's provided a little bit of a spark offensively with 2 RBIs tonight. Ryan Howard is 2 for 12 lifetime against Javier Lopez. One of his 2 hits is a double. He has struck out 5 times. This guy has always been a tough left-hander. He just keeps on ticking. Their other tough left-hander, Jeremy Affeldt, is on the disabled list.
Jeremy was out here yesterday throwing a bullpen.
Tim Lincecum was also throwing a bullpen yesterday, as Howard is evened the count up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. By the way, they've given an RBI to Angel Pagan. But I think they'll take that away, because even though the run scored while the double play was still going on, they generally don't give an RBI on any double play. That's called a reverse force double play, and the official score shall not credit a run batted in, Rule 10.04, in case you're wondering.
I still think Cesar should have just flipped the ball to Freddie Galvis and had the conventional double play.
All right, well, you can see it right here.
You know, Pagan runs okay, but I still think they would have had an easy double play.
And he scores right there. 3-2 pitch. And a strike 3 called on the inside corner. And by the way, we went back and looked at the play. I had said that he was out of the baseline. The base runner has 3 feet once he establishes the baseline, and it looked like he was He was on the grass, but it didn't look like he was 3 feet away from after he established the baseline. It was close, but I don't think the umpires were in position to even call that. Howard not pleased by that strike 3 call. Here's Carlos Ruiz, and Carlos takes a strike. It's 0-1.
Been a ton of pitchers used in this game.
Yeah. Outside, and it's 2-1. I think because of the All-Star break, they probably figure, what the heck, we might as well just get everybody in. Two and 2. Giants have a chance to gain a game on the Dodgers, who are getting walloped by the Brewers right now. It's 7-1 in the 9th inning. Don't think that's not lost on Bruce Bochy also. Ruiz takes low. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Especially with the stretch they've just had, the Giants. They've lost a lot of games.
Well, they had that road trip. They were 0-6.
Awful.
Now the 3-2 pitch coming to Ruiz, and Carlos hooks it out toward left center field. Blanco got a good jump. 2 away.
Chooch just out in front of Hare. Hits through it well, but it's just out in front, a little too much off the end of the bat.
Like everybody else wearing Phillies red, there was a point in this ball game where a little excited about the fact the Phillies had a 4-1 lead thanks to this guy, Cody Ashe, but 7 unanswered runs by the Giants. 5 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th. It's 8-4 San Francisco. Ground ball to first. And Belt will flip it to Lopez covering. Side is retired in order. Phillies go down quietly. Yep, it's been that kind of year to shake your head. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Phillies trail at 8-4. Omar Gomez is the guy you see on the mound, firing away, warming up, getting himself ready for this outing. 38th game, 0-2 with an ERA of 2.57. And he will face Joe Panik, Matt Duffy, and then Buster Posey. I bet you wouldn't. I bet you wouldn't. Mentioned that Joe Panik, who's going to the All-Star game, he was a guy Bruce Bochy felt deserved to go to the All-Star game. With the injury to D. Gordon, DJ LeMahieu will start at second base, but they haven't added another second baseman. They added Troy Tulowitzki, so Panik's going to get some playing time. All the injuries. I just read something where Max Scherzer's not going to pitch in the All-Star game. And that's partly because he's scheduled to pitch tomorrow. At least the last time I looked, he was scheduled to pitch tomorrow. Ground ball to third. And there's one out.
He's going to take those 4 days and give that arm a breather. He's thrown a lot of pitches because he's
he has
thrown a lot of innings.
Yeah. He's been very durable. Sergio Romo is heading down to the bullpen to start throwing for the Giants. Matt Duffy's the batter. He takes a fastball for a strike. It's 0-1. Duffy has 3 hits tonight, a single, double, triple. He's a home run shy of the cycle. Last cycle, Pablo Sandoval, 2011. A bit outside. There's a strike again. And 1 ball, 2 strikes. He just got a piece of it, didn't he? Nope, he didn't. There was no signal by the home plate umpire, but everybody was pretty casual about it. So there are 2 outs here in the 8th inning, and Buster Posey's coming up.
Very casual about it.
Very casual.
I assume Buster Posey would be at first base tomorrow, or total day off?
You know, the last time we thought about that, he wound up catching again. That was when the Phillies were back home in Philadelphia. I think there's a chance they give him off because he's got to go to the All-Star game. Sometimes managers do that. They give you the day before the All-Star break off if you're going to the All-Star game. Another solid year for him, hitting .305. He's down on the count 0-2. 2 hits today. They weren't the most powerful hits, but they were hits nonetheless.
Why don't you ask him if he'll take them?
Oh, I think he will.
Here come the Seagulls.
Is that the ruckus that's going on in the crowd?
They always come out at the same time.
I think they're a little late tonight, actually. They usually come out when Steve Perry's singing. Outside and low, 2-2. It is remarkable. They're all coming in at the same time.
All coming at once.
I think if we went back and looked at how many 0-2 pitches to 0-2 counts to 3-2 counts, tonight may have exceeded what we've seen on this entire road trip. Would you agree with that?
Yes. It just, It's like they're trying to be too fine. Like, I'm going to make this the best pitch of my life. And it's just not working out that way.
Now, they're fouling a lot of balls off, as you've talked about, but still. 3-2 pitch coming to Buster Posey. And he lines it out to right field, and that'll be in for a hit. Francoeur looked like he peeked for a moment to see if they could throw Posey out. But there was too much depth to that, so that's his 3rd hit of the night. And here comes Hunter Pence.
Guy just gets hits.
Line drive caught by Cesar Hernandez, and that'll do it for the Giants here in the 8th inning. So the Phils have one last opportunity here at AT&T Park as we go to the top of the 9th inning. They trail it by a score of 8-4. Last night you could find a few that really stand out, but this one exceeds all others off the bat of Matt Duffy.
Yeah, Matt Duffy gets a fastball out over the plate off Luis Garcia and rifles it over Odubel Herrera's head out to Triple's alley. And even I can get a triple out there, Tom, and that is your W.B. Mason delivery of the game.
Well, as we go to the top of the 9th inning, Cesar Hernandez will lead things off against Sergio Romo. Romo in his 37th game, 0-4, a 4.97 ERA. Ryan Vogelsong started this one for the Giants, went 5 2/3, allowed 4 earned runs. He will not get a decision. Jake Osich, who came on to get the last out in the 6th inning, stands to pick up his first major league victory if Romo can get these outs here in the 9th. 0-2.
I think Romo's weighing in these days.
I think he's weighing in at about $145. It's going to help him later on in life, though, Ben.
Yes, it will. Easier on the joints, Tom.
That's exactly right. Over to the right side, Belt has it. And he'll just take it to the bag just ahead of Cesar Hernandez. 1 out. 5 in a row retired by the Giants bullpen. Freddie Galvis is the hitter. Galvis has a triple tonight. He's 1 for 3. He's listed at 5'11", 185 pounds.
I'm going to say no. I can't put him any more past 170.
That one is looped out toward left center field. It'll drop for another hit for Galvis, and he's on his way to second, and will get there easily. So a triple and a double tonight for Freddie Galvis.
Oh, wait, Freddie.
And that's his 8th double of the season. And the inning is alive for Jeff Francoeur. Up for the second time. He's 0 for 1.
So many extra base hits in these first couple games. I'll tell you. We know what the Giants did last night, but there's just a lot on either side.
Yeah, the Phillies have 5 extra base hits in tonight's ball game. Santiago Casilla goes out to start throwing. It's not a safe situation yet. Tying run has to be in the on deck circle. There's that wiffle ball slider. In fact, each team with 5 extra base hits tonight. Giants, though, have 15 hits. On one hop out to second base, Panic throws to first. Now they're 2 away. And Odubel Herrera is coming up. No balls, 1 strike to Odubel Herrera. And a slider outside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Odubel saying, will you throw me something straight? A lot off speed he's seen this evening.
A bit outside. Odubel helping out the home plate umpire Todd Tishner. Have to admit, I'm surprised nobody told him to stop that yet.
It's not a good habit to be in. I don't see what advantage you have.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it before. Here comes the 2-1 pitch. And now 3-1. Would Bruce Bochy go get Santiago Casilla for a 1 out?
I believe he would. Only seems right that one more reliever would be used this evening.
Balls, 1 strike with 2 outs. And he pops him up foul and out of play. 41,900 plus on their feet. It's 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Game 2 of this 3-game series. Tomorrow is the final day of this road trip, the last day before the All-Star break.
The majority of those fans still here.
Yeah. And the 3-2 fouled away. We'll do it again. Now towards center field. Pagan venturing back. It's over his head. It is off the base of the wall. It eludes him. A run will score. And Herrera will pull into second base with an RBI double. It's an 8-5 ball game. Second straight hit for Odubel Herrera. His 18th double of the season. And Bruce Bochy is wasting no more time. He's going to go to Santiago Casilla to try to close the door. So a pitching change here at AT&T Park. The Phillies have pulled to within 3. Now with the tying run in the on-deck circle, and Ben Revere will be the pinch hitter. Santiago Casilla, 21 saves and 25 opportunities. He's got a man at second base. 1 run is in for the Phils, and Ben Revere takes strike 1. It's 0-1.
Casilla, big sinker, big breaking ball. Ben probably going to get the hard stuff.
And he gets a breaking ball. It's 0-2. So once again, down to the final strike and the final out. Game 2 of this series. Phillies led it 4-1 at one point. Giants scored 5 in the bottom of the 6th inning to take the lead. They added 2 more in the 7th. Phillies have scored 1 here in the top of the 9th inning. They've got a runner in scoring position. And the 0-2 is punched over to shortstop. Crawford's up with it, and he throws across the diamond in time to get Revere, and the ball game is over. Santiago Casilla gets the final out save here in the top of the 9th inning, and the Giants come from behind and defeat the Phils 8-5, and in doing so gain a game on the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League West. Matt Dovey is our Chevrolet player of the game. He truly can be the Chevrolet player of the series so far. He's had himself 7 hits in the first 2 games for the San Francisco Giants. And with that loss, the Phillies now at 61 losses before the All-Star break. They're guaranteed to be at least 30 games under 500. 31 games under 500 before